everybody, to another episode of Scary Stories with Kalila. I'm Kalila Smith, and I'm welcoming a couple of really great guests tonight to join me and Alan Gilbert. Last week, we talked about those cemeteries with Tanya, and she gave a great story about that guy who was running through the cemetery and something latched onto him. Well, we've got that guy and the psychic medium who did the cleanse on him to get that entity off. Welcome, my dear friends and colleagues in the paranormal, Renee and Kevin. Welcome, guys. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you
so
for
great
having
to
us.
see you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is exciting.
It should be a lot of fun, I think.
Story. Well, we wanted to get your version because it's a pretty. I mean, we're doing scary stories here, and I mean, I can't think of anything scarier than something latching onto you, especially in a cemetery. That's pretty frightening. So, we heard about it from Tanya.
It was nothing.
It was a big deal. So tell us, can you give us your version of what happened? What set you running off like you did? I mean, what can you give us a recount of the evening?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there's a little bit of story that leads into what we were there for, what we were doing. Our team, I'm part of Historical Haunts Memphis, paranormal investigation team, and we were part of a tour at this cemetery in Alabama, Oak Hill Cemetery. If I'm not supposed to mention it, you can bleep it out. It's a beautiful cemetery. It's full of oaks. It's on a hill. And when I say it's on a hill, I don't mean like a little bumpy thing. It's a straight up incline. This place was just a mountain, more or less. Wow. And they're taking us through. They're explaining some of the stories at this tour, telling us about the people who are buried there, obviously, that this is who they are. This is their story, their history. And now let's go to the next dead person. So we're on this tour, we're walking through, we go up the hill, we go around, and we come down a hill. And I think, Renee, Kalila, had you been to this place before?
No, I haven't been to any of the locations in Alabama.
Okay. I was thinking that maybe you had. So we go up the hill, we go around, we come down the hill. We're at the bottom of the hill. We're talking about this family who had been murdered by the patriarch of the family in favor of another group of folks. And while we're standing there, I notice at the top of the hill there's this light, and it's dancing around at the top of this hill. It's not just showing up. It's not just pointing. I look, nobody has their little laser grid pointer thing going. I try to watch to see if it's traffic, but that means that the lights would pretty much just kind of go in one direction or the other, reflecting off headstones or anything else. I tried to figure out where those lights were coming from, and I couldn't. And eventually this one dude leans over and he goes, "Hey, you see a light up on that hill?" I said, "Yeah, there's a light on the hill." This lady walks over and, "Hey, I see a light up on the hill." And I said, "Yeah, that's 3 of us now that see this light on the hill." And, if the headstone is here, let me do it that way so it doesn't look like I'm making any reference to anything. But the light is dancing around. It's going over and around headstones at the top of this hill. And so it disappears behind the stone, comes in front of the stone. All these things are happening. And I've never seen this before in my life. And Tanya walks over and she says, "On top of this hill, there's a light. This light is dancing around this headstone. I see it. These 2 people see it." And I tell Tanya, "I need to run up there. I need to go see what this is." And no, Kev, you need to stay with the group. We need to follow the team. We need to follow what they're talking about, go the route. Okay, but if one person shows up again and says there's a light on the hill, I'm going. And immediately it seems some guy walks up. He goes, "Hey, I see a light up there." Well, I look at Tanya. Basically, I just looked there and went, and then up the hill I went, running. Now, I mean, you can see right here, this is not a body that runs, right? I've got like evidence of that here. I'm darting up this hill, and the light is still moving around. I'm crawling over headstones and everything. I'm trying not to blink, because if you blink, it's going to go away. So I get up to the top of this hill. I'm about 10, 15 feet from it. It's about the size of a golf ball, I guess. And it began to move ahead of me across these plots. So I go behind it, and as I go forward following this light, it begins to slowly disappear until it just dissipates into nothing. And so I stop, and that's at the point when my heart finally just gets up into my throat and starts beating like crazy. And I realize this fat dude just ran up that hill to get to this area to see a light that just dissipates. There was anticlimactic at that point. So I lean over, I take up a leaf, I put it on a headstone, and I say, please, before I die of a heart attack right here, I need you to take that leaf and turn it so it points at me. Please, anything. And nothing happened. Obviously, I didn't die, or did I? And I'm watching this leaf, nothing happens. So I step away and trying to catch my breath. I get back to the road. I walk down the hill all the way around, and I get caught up to other people. Well, one of the people that work at the cemetery is sitting on a wall, and as I walk by, she goes, "Hey, you got a light following you." I said, "Okay, funny, great. Now I'm going to be the butt of a joke." So I get caught up with the rest of the group. We're walking through. We finish. We go back to the hotel. One of our members, who's a school teacher, is sitting across from me. He says, "Hey, I meant to tell you this, but you had a light following you through the cemetery." And I said, "Huh?" He said, "You had a light following you through the cemetery." I said, "Great, here it comes. That's going to be the joke forever now." And he says, "No, seriously." I said, "Teacher's honor, teacher's honor. There was a light following you." Like there's a teacher's honor. And so I'm sitting there and I'm listening to him talk about this light that he saw. Okay, fine. Go to sleep that night. That's a Saturday night. Get up Sunday, go through the day. Everything's mostly okay. Get in the car. We're riding back to Memphis. We're talking about the entire weekend of events. Tanya's driving. Great, great driver. If you've never ridden with her before, you should, just so that you can see what I'm talking about. And
wait, Alan's shaking his head no on this one. Oh God, don't say it.
Hey, all I'm saying is when a transfer truck nearly drove us off the road, she kept us straight without a wreck. That's all I got to say. So we lived through that, and it was because Tanya is a good driver. I don't know about any other time other than that, but I know that time she saved our lives. Or did she? So anyways, so we get back to Memphis, and my roommate, who had moved to Florida for a little while, is back in town visiting that weekend. And everything's just kind of starting to be kind of hazy and foggy, and it's almost like an entire energy drain. You know, kind of like when you talk to those family members that feed their energy vampires, and they just suck all the energy right out of you. Yeah. Okay, well, sort of like that. So as the night goes on, everything's just kind of feeling weird and getting foggy, like I don't understand things for some reason. And he gets me to go ahead and call Renee and tell Renee what's going on, because I told him about everything going on at the cemetery. And he figures, hey, if you've got a light following you at a cemetery, then does that mean something's here with you? So call Renee. So I did. I got on the phone. I called Renee. And best I remember, she gave me some rules. Go to bed. I'm going to come through, and I'm going to put you to sleep, and then I'm going to detach whatever is attached. Okay, fine. So I go to bed. I think she's still on the phone with me at that point. I say, I'm in the bed. Bye. Click. Hang up the phone. My roommate is sitting across the room from me in a recliner in my bedroom, and he's going to watch. He knows all the equipment that I've got. Well, the paranormal equipment. And he sets that out, and he doesn't know how to use it because he didn't use any of it, which is hilarious. So he had it, but he didn't use it. Anyways, after we hang up with Renee, and I'm sitting there, and I say to him, apparently, is what he says, I said that I feel really tired, my right arm hurts, and then I was gone. And he said that within a minute or so, that nowhere else in the darkness of my room did this happen. Just over my bed, there were sparkles. He saw little lights flashing over me in this room. And as a matter of fact, earlier tonight, as he was leaving out to go to work, I asked him about this. and said, "Do you remember these things?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, I just want to make sure that I've got my stuff right for tonight." So that Monday, before all this happened, actually, I say that was a Sunday night. I missed Monday because Monday, that day was a blur. That day, I don't remember anything hardly at all. I remember getting up. I remember going to work. I remember a coworker coming in and doing something like that with her hands at me. But that was the night that we had Renee on the phone that called through. She came through, did her thing. Now we're back on track. Tuesday morning, I got up, went in to get ready for work. Looked in the mirror, and I had a huge bruise on my arm, on my shoulder, and I don't know where it's from. I don't know why it's there. Shouldn't be there. Um, I'm lost. I'm lost on why this bruise is on my arm. Go to work. I spend the day there. I'm with it, as opposed to the day before. We go to lunch with the bookkeeper, and the bookkeeper tells me midway through the lunch, "Now you're here with me. This is you. I don't know what's been happening the past day and a half, but this is you." Okay, I don't know what that means. Well, you've been irritable, you've been grumpy, you've been not yourself. Like, I don't even know what that means. But anyways, I'm going to eat my meatloaf. So that evening I come home, I call Renee, and the meatloaf was good, by the way. I call Renee. I said, "What happened? What are we talking about? What's going on?" Renee tells me that she astral projected in, that she extracted or detached. I don't know what the word was that she used at the time. I'll let her tell her portion of this next. From me. And I said, "Where?" And she said, "From your upper right portion of your torso, because that's where it was holding on." And I said, "Interesting, because I have a huge bruise up there on my right shoulder." And she said, "Yeah, it was holding on. It was holding on tight. If I recall correctly, it was female in gender, but didn't mean to cause harm, wanted to experience life." I forgot what the stuff was, but I'll let Renee share.
Wow. I remember
That's kind
her
of it.
telling me about the episode when it happened. In fact, I think Renee told me about it after it happened. In fact, I think, and this has been a while, this has been a few years ago, right? And I don't have any sense of space and time anymore, but I remember when Renee told me that she was going to go take care of something attached to Kevin. And anytime Renee talked about this, now, I'm a medium, paranormal researcher, the whole thing, but I don't fool, and I totally believe in attachments, possessions, the whole nine yards, but I won't fool with them. I do not fool with them. I used to fly to Miami twice a year to get stuff lifted off of me and get fussed at by people who told me stay out of cemeteries. So I'm very respectful of that, and I don't want to fool with that stuff. I don't want to deal with it. So anytime Renee would even mention, "Oh, I got to go do this," and I'd go, "Stop. I don't want to hear. I don't. I know what you do. I respect what you do, but I don't want any part of any of that. I don't even want to know about it." So she calls me and she's like, "Well, I'm going to have to astrally project over Kevin and pull something off of him." And I went, "Uh huh." And I was like, I said, "Well, okay." And I said, "Let me know how that works." And
Yeah,
so, but it
it
wasn't until, with the podcast when I actually had her explain what she does, because I was always like, no, no, I don't want to hear about it. So Renee, what exactly? Tell everybody what you do. How, what is it? Kind of give us a little background on how you got involved with this whole attachment thing.
I'm a fool.
That's funny. I thought you were Italian.
I am that too. When it was just like kind of by accident, we're all here for specific reasons, and I'm, very careful and what I do. I very careful on how I approach it all, and like there's a whole list of questions and everything that I go through with the people who have attachments or think they have attachments, or maybe they don't even know, and it's something that I narrow down. But it was just by accident, by seeing one day. And I was like, I looked at like one of my friends and I was like, what the hell? What is that? And they had been complaining about like neck pain and, just feeling really tired and drained and feeling like out of sorts. And everybody said that they were acting totally different, but they didn't think that they were necessarily acting different than what they normally would. And I could see this thing like kind of doing like a peekaboo and like looking at me like, I dare you, I dare you to remove me. And I was just, and I'm standing there and it just was one of those things that I just took care of it. It's not like I come in like doing kung fu chop suey or anything, or, like doing any kind of acrobats or anything, but it's more of I wish I could explain it. Like when I'm not there, like when I'm there, I kind of incorporate the Reiki and, I call in Michael and Raphael and, all the archangels and stuff to surround me and let the energy flow through me, but not the energy that's obviously attached. But so it's like a hands-on process, but it's not like I do anything, the hands are just placed on the person. But when I do remote, which is more of what I do, are the remote removals, I end up doing it's not an astral projection. I call it more of a soul projection, because I'm like not going up to the, astral plane and swooping back down again. I'm not like some, flying witch or anything on a broomstick, but I call it a soul projection because, our souls can come and go as they wish, or we can purposely send our soul or pieces of our soul elsewhere.
So you're doing a lot of work like what shamans do, because shamans work a lot on that astral plane, and they work with various spirits and helpers and guides and so forth, and that's how they usually operate. I mean, that's what makes a shaman a shaman. They're working with those spirits and on that particular energetic plane and working long distance like that. So that's I pretty much get how you do it, but I still don't want to do it.
It's not as bad. I mean, some days I'll wake up and I'll feel like I've battled. Do you know what I mean? And I have. I mean,
well, I bet. See, that's what's so scary to me. It's like, because the kind of rituals that I've had done on me to pull things off of me, they were Santerian. And when I had these things done, I always had my back turned. I wasn't allowed to see what was going on. You don't get to see what the Babala was doing to pull this off of you. You're totally, you're facing another direction, and you're not really privy to what ritualistic things they're doing. But in any tradition, energy cannot be destroyed. Of course, you're not destroying this thing. You are pulling something off, and lots of times that will go somewhere else.
mm-hmm.
So what do you do? How do you protect yourself from it going in you? Because that's what I'm afraid of. I don't want something attaching to me.
I can tell you another story after we finish this one about where I purposely had to take one on. And it was not one that I really wanted to take on, but because of the situation, I had no choice. So anyway, going back to Kevin and everything in the cemetery. So I do what I call a soul projection, because I'm just going right here in the regular physical plane. And I go in and I basically pull and tug and yank, and basically my spirit battles that spirit to get that spirit unattached. And then we have a little chat and I get my point across. And I don't bind and like cast them. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you gotta bind and cast them. Well, sometimes it's just they want to relive their physical experience. I mean, and it wasn't anything to harm, but they will feed off of your energy, and feeding off of your energy can make you extremely sick. And and if people don't do something about it, and if it's not like a transient one where it's just going to come and go, it can cause serious physical illness. It can cause, that is my phone, I'm sorry, I've got it just resting on it.
I was like looking around like, where is that?
So, it's not like, how do I put it? So it's not like I bind and cast them, because it's not like intentional to hurt them. You know what I'm saying? Even those that latch on and it's not figured out, and say like the person's like severely depressed, or they might have like autoimmune deficiency, and more add up and so on and so forth. It has, but they've been known they can kill you.
Well, that's just it. And I mean, there's an entire realm. In fact, I'm working on a book right now with Billy Roberts on this entire realm of spirits who don't cross over, who are staying on this earth plane. And some of them, many of them, are actually very malevolent. They're not necessarily demons, but they are malevolent spirits.
They were
And
negative in their
usually
physical
they
life.
can
They're
be
going to
very
be negative.
yeah, they can
Yeah.
be, they're lower vibrational. They're not highly evolved.
Right.
And they are very consumptive. Let's just put it that way. They are very consumptive, and they're pulling your energy, and they can make you sick, and they can kill you, whether they intend to or not.
So quick question. I want to back up because there's a little bit of a part of a conversation I don't remember that we have had. So you said that if someone is going through depression, that I know that lowers down a whole lot of physical energies and all of that. You said that that's kind of when it makes it more easy for them to attach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because that would make sense if that's the case, because at the time I was working at a job that even 11 years into it, by the time I got out of there, those folks were so abusive, let's just say it that way, that it had me on a low level of life for about 8 years. Yeah, it was bad, and that was also during the period of time when we were down there at that tour, and I took off after that light, that I was in pretty much a bad depressed state.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I even at one point had a thought to just go ahead and put a period at the end of my sentence of life, because it got that bad. I just dreaded every single day,
And
so
the vibration rate. See, what's happening is when you're that low, or if you're angry, or especially depression though, if you get to that it's all about the vibration, because everything is vibration. So when you're vibrating at that low rate, what are you going to, water attracts its own level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like attracts like. What are you going to attract? You're going to attract an entity that's right on that vibrational rate, and that's what's drawing it.
Right. And I could see how that would be a thing.
Right. So Renee, you said you had one to battle. What?
It's like, I mean, they fight you. They don't want to go. They're there for the experience, and what can happen. So, it's taking them off, and we have like a little talk. I'm not always very nice. And I know I look innocent, but I'm not always very nice.
What do? You just like, look, you. Now see here.
She wags that finger and says, "Hey."
But I've even been described with people who have seen me doing it, or even when I've gone in on investigations and people have seen me come in on investigations and on the equipment, sometimes I'll even look like a whirlwind of sparkles, like a tornado type effect.
Mm-hmm.
And so you do, because sometimes they just don't want to detach from the host, right? Because Kevin was the host.
Right.
And then, so like I said, I don't bind and cast them, because I send them to what I call a spiritual rehab. Where they will go off and their DNA, their spiritual DNA and everything gets reconfigured, and they go through like kind of like it would be a drug and alcohol rehab type thing. They go through this rehab thing, and they can either rejoin life at some other point to reincarnate, or they can choose not to, but they go through this other process. So I send them off elsewhere, and I don't bind and cast, because I know, if it were me or one of my family members, that, I would think that would be kind of crummy to bind and cast. But a lot of people will say, you bind and cast a spirit. Why? You don't need to unless, it's demonic, and then you're even still
Right.
risking yourself, your life, your family's life, and even doing that,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I believe in all that, and that's why it scares me because, in my traditions and the things that I've learned about this is, those kind of spirits that are consumptive and I've seen people eaten from the inside out with these things.
Mm-hmm.
And to get a vessel like you would be quite a catch for one of those.
But
see, they're hoping
I'm
to attach to somebody like you.
But I'm also protected, and I'm
Okay,
shielded, and and I'm very very selective in what I do. Like when I say that I go through a very strict questioning period, I mean, it's like the first thing I do is like, what medications are you on? Same thing as if you would do like
Yeah,
prior to an
of course,
investigation.
right.
Are you on any medications? Do you have any history of mental illness? Anybody in the family have history of mental illness? What are your medical issues? And I keep everything, I was in EMT critical care for 9 years, and I still follow the HIPAA law myself, even when I do my readings, when I do any of my sessions, when I do any of this stuff, I follow the HIPAA law. So when they talk to me, it's going to stay with me, for the most part, and I'm not going to give names. I'm not going to, you know what I'm saying?
Right, sure, no, of course.
So, because it's their experience, and it can be very traumatic for some people.
Oh, it is, and absolutely for the person who's the host,
right?
And also for the spirit. I mean, they're troubled spirits, and I can see Alan. I'm reading Alan's mind right now. Come on, Alan. Come on. Join the conversation.
Don't go there.
What do you say, Alan? Come on.
It's time to poke the skeptic. Get the stick and
Poke the skeptic. Let's go. He's
Poke the skeptic. What kind of show is this again?
But in all reality, I mean, it is scary for some of these people. It's and it can happen to anybody. I mean, if I'm not shielded and I'm not protected, there's been times I felt it with me. I mean, I told you about the time I was driving to work when I worked at other job, and I had to be to work at 5 a.m, and I drive by the cemetery every day, and I looked, and I'm like, I am not a morning person. I swear to God, I am not a morning person. Don't look at me. Don't talk to me. I just want my coffee. I want total silence until I've had that cup, because I just don't do early mornings. I don't.
Right. No, I get it.
And so here I am, and I've got to, drive into work, and I'm driving by the cemetery, and it's dark 100, and I saw the spirit by the gate, right? I saw him there, and then he was gone, and I'm driving, and I'm not thinking anything of it, and I'm just thinking, I'd really like to be back in bed. Why am I doing this? I'm not making the donuts, but I got to make the coffee, and I'm like going through all this in my mind, and as the day's going on, and I'm like, oh, I know where he went. And it was on me.
Yeah.
And I can always tell, like, if I'm like overtired, or because I am a target. I mean, I'll admit it. I'm
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I felt that there's times where, like, my neck or my lower back, and I'm just like, all right, this is not my normal ache and pain. You know what I mean?
Oh, no.
And then my right eye will start moving on its own and like looking around. And that is my
There you go. All right, Alan.
Are you sure that's not a stroke?
Yeah.
I said, are you sure that's not a stroke?
Oh, I'm positive.
All right, Alan, come on. It's Alan's turn to jump in on this. Come on, here we go.
Come on, Alan.
All right. Let's pick on the cemetery as a location to start with anyway.
Oh, Scooby-Doo. Here we go.
Here we go.
Wait a minute. He's going to say there's no spirits in cemeteries.
Now I'm going to ask,
he's going to say there's a Scooby-Doo effect.
All right, well, all right.
Or it's a raccoon. Never mind, Alan.
All of the above are true so far. So, all right. Years ago, I had an office while I worked in a hospital that nobody else wanted. Nobody wanted this office. I got a fantastic location, huge office, lots of square footage. Would you like to know why nobody wanted it?
Because it
Because
was
it's
haunted.
haunted.
It was next to the morgue. Okay. I have also, over the years, worked in nursing homes and hospice and all of these wonderful places. I can absolutely positively guarantee I have dealt with more dead bodies than the three of you combined. And then
don't count on that.
even as an EMT, I promise you.
Oh, I worked in a nursing home for years.
See, all right, Renee, you know what I'm talking
And
about.
in hospitals,
Okay. So who cares about the cemetery? It's over. The cemetery is for the living. The cemetery has nothing to do with the dead. It really doesn't.
Can I interject something
Oh,
here?
absolutely.
Okay.
You live in the cemetery.
Your loved ones are not in the cemetery. The people who are buried there are not hanging out there. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is that the cemetery is where the living goes. They're grieving. They're in depression. They're in sadness. They're vibrating very low. And where are they going? They're going to talk to their loved ones at the cemetery, right?
Okay.
Well, guess where all of the discarnate spirits that are looking to latch onto someone to live vicariously through, to enjoy,
just
what
like
they enjoy in
in
life.
Hammer.
It's a hotbed for spirits to grab on, and I've said that all along. I've always said that. If you go there and you think you're talking to the little girl that's buried there, that spirit's going to let you think that that's who you're talking to. They're going to present themselves as if it's that child. We talked about that with the haunted dolls. That spirit's going to present itself to bring you in closer so that it can attach to you. And that's the danger and the scary part about it. That's the whole thing right there. We know that the people buried there are not hanging out in the cemetery, without a doubt. They're not. They've gone on. But there are spirits that remain earthbound. In fact, I did a lot of studying of spiritism, Allan Kardec spiritism in Brazil, and we went and saw a lot of rituals in the Umbanda tradition, where they're taking on a lot of spirits. They're purposely taking on spirits to try to get them to evolve higher. Very, very, very fascinating stuff. But there's an entire realm that they call umbral. Umbral is the area between our world, and when you first cross over, it's that little dark area in between. And in Portuguese, the word umbral literally means threshold.
Doorway.
Yeah, and that's where these spirits are hanging out. And the cemeteries, as I've mentioned before, I've seen these cemeteries, such as the one I showed you the photograph of, where it's clear. I've seen full-bodied apparitions, people walking around the cemetery and just vanishing. There's definitely portals in these areas, in a lot of these cemeteries, especially the ones where they have rituals. Especially those. They're most definitely crossroads. In fact, in the voodoo tradition, the woman who was my godmother many, many years ago, she always said that, the cross on the graves in the voodoo tradition represents the physical world and the intersection of the spiritual world. It's where they cross, where they intersect. And these are your portals. This is where there's kind of like their realm is going on, our realm is going on, and every now and then we get a view into theirs, or vice versa. But this is where it's all happening. So yes, Alan, I agree. Your loved ones are not hanging out there, the higher evolved spirits, but those who are wanting to remain on the earthbound are. And that's where they're finding host, because those are the people who are grieving and they're sad and they're depressed, and they're at that lower vibrational rate and they're attracting it.
It sounds like the online scammers.
Well, yeah, very similar.
I was thinking more like the watering hole.
Yeah, catfishing. That's what they call it on the internet, where you send a picture of somebody you're not, and then you show up later and you're totally not that person, and that's kind of what this sounds like, is catfishing.
Catfishing, yeah.
Is that what that's called?
Yeah,
yeah, it's dating with the spirits, right? Yeah.
but I do want to add to that though, like if you're there and you're really grieving and you can pull in your loved one's energy, but they're not going to stay there, but they can come in.
Well, they're around us all the time, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to be the cemetery, but there are spirits hanging around the cemeteries that are looking for people to latch onto. And it's happened. I've seen it happen time and time again. So anyway, Alan, carry on.
Oh well, I thought I'd throw out that first wishbone. All right, you've covered that your loved ones ain't there.
Correct.
Okay. The next one again, of course, is, you always have to have the lurid story and the lurid location. And there is no better trope in books or media than a cemetery at night.
Oh, but they're fun.
Oh, I know. I've been there. I've been there with that guy right over there. That guy right there.
The one right there.
That guy.
Right there.
That guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. We did do that together at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Same cemetery.
Same cemetery. I have been to that location.
We did a walkthrough of that cemetery.
We did.
I did that cemetery twice, I think, while you were there, and then twice the next time. And it wasn't until that fourth time that I went through that cemetery that all this stuff happened. I'll tell you, I've studied this stuff since I was a kid, borrowing books, reading D. Scott Rowe, Lloyd Auerbach, all this stuff, and started investigating when I was probably late teens, I guess, maybe early 20s, but I'm sure more than likely late teens. No, I mean, started trying to investigate back then. But, in all of these years, I've only had 3 things that happened at a cemetery. One of them was indirectly because it really just, the majority of that was in a photograph that one of my friends was there took. Not orbs. There was a figure of a man leaning against a headstone. Why? I don't know.
Wow.
A smoky shadow in another cemetery from Holly Springs, where I grew up. Saw that with another one of my friends. Did we document it? No, because we were too young and dumb to realize to do that sort of thing. This would be the 3rd thing in my entire life of anything happening at a cemetery. I go to them. I'm respectful at a cemetery. You should be. That's just the investigator in me. You should be respectful.
But you chased this one. You did chase this
one. Well,
one.
I will say this. Had that light not been dancing around, and had there not been all these people saying there's a light, and had it not been inviting me to come up there, and had me as an investigator with the necessity to go find out why this light is there, I would not have chased it. But I had to go up there because I wanted to disprove what this thing was we were all seeing, because it wasn't lights, it wasn't helicopters, it wasn't cars, it wasn't laser grid, it wasn't any of these things. 5 of us, is that right? 5? Yeah, I guess. Anyways, 5 of us saw this thing. Me, 4 other people, right? Saw this thing up on top of this hill. I needed to see what it was. Why is it there? What's it coming from? Right? What kind of an investigator am I if I don't go find that out? Number 1. Number 2, I will forevermore tell people, if you see a light, don't chase that sucker.
No, you really shouldn't. You really shouldn't.
I have experienced, that tiredness after a move. I have experienced, a week-long vacation at Disney World where I was there the hour before until the hour after they closed. And after the end of that week, you feel that tiredness. I have never felt anything like this.
It's a totally different tired.
It's debilitating. Yeah, it is. It's a different thing. It really
This
is.
was ridiculous.
So Alan, Alan usually comes up with a scientific explanation. I mean, what do you think of this, Alan? What do you make of this?
We just started at cemetery. We're just working our way down the points. It's okay. So, all right. Well, having been on investigations with this one and that one, so I keep going on these investigations where people absolutely positively guarantee me that I'm going to have an experience. And so far, the score is not in your favor.
So wait a minute. We'll go back. You did have an experience with some K2 meters going off.
I can fake that all day. I can fake that faster than a
Who
state.
faked it? Who faked it?
No, I
We
say
were right there.
that is
Huh?
too easily faked. That is too easily faked.
You were right there. Who was faking it?
And who didn't turn off their cell phone?
My cell phone was
Like in that
plugged in and off downstairs
And-
in the lobby.
Yeah, I trust K2 meters about as far as I can throw a gorilla.
But you even said you don't know what you're witnessing, but you were witnessing something.
I will never say there was not an experience. That is, a skeptic that denies somebody's experience needs to turn in their skeptic.
No, it was your own experience.
Doesn't matter if it's mine or anybody else's. May take you a while to figure out what's wrong with it. I have a lovely radio show that has a feature in it called 30 Years of Stupid. And the feature 30 Years of Stupid is when a contractor like me comes in your house and we open up a wall and find out all of your cast iron pipes are leaking, or that your electrical was hooked up wrong, or Lord only knows what happened 30 years ago the last time somebody was in there. So, and this is where I'm going to give Kevin mad props. Kevin, I have terrorized Kalila over the years doing exactly what you did. Well, they say there's something under the boat. All right, I'm going to go pick up the boat. They say there's something in the well.
He just hasn't chased the light. That's what the thing is. Because he would not have seen the light. He wouldn't have seen it. But yeah, he goes after other things. I mean, I've seen him go after snakes, bats.
Yep. Tanya had to go get her out of stuff, you know.
Oh, you had to
I don't mind the bats, but not the snakes.
Huh?
All right, this is Alan out in the country. Okay, this is Alan. We're out in the country, and you know I've got to think about out in the country. Granted, I do live in a swamp, but I don't live out in the country.
All right, your greatest quote was after 40 years of tours, you will die eaten by Bigfoot.
That's true. Well, either that or trampled by deer or something, or shot by mistake by the deer hunters. But you know, we get to this place and it's this beautiful old plantation, and we're going to see the hole in the ground. There's a hole in the ground. You can walk down into it. And we got there, and it's barbed wire fence everywhere, and you know, and our host was there, and she's like, yeah, go ahead, climb on in. And I was like, what do you mean climb on in? And Alan's climbing over all of this stuff, barbed wire fence. And I'm like, wait, y'all want me to climb in that stuff? And what do y'all want me to do? I'm going to tear myself up. And I was having to hold it up. I about killed myself. You know, Renee, you want to talk about a Lucy moment? I'm like stringing myself up. And as I'm all stringing up in the barbed wire going, I'm going to die being cut up by this stuff, I hear, poof, poof, and I'm like, what is that? And he says, deer. And you look and you just see this herd of deer running.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, but there were gunshots. There were shotgun. Somebody was deer hunting back up in there.
Yeah.
And you heard the guns. And you just see this herd of beautiful deer go running by. And I'm caught up in barbed wire, and just as I'm about ready to try to climb myself through and get all this mess, probably falling all over the ground, you know, Megan goes, "Now I'll just have to be careful because there's rattlesnakes out here."
I would have like ripped my pants. I would have been hung upside down. No, I
know it was terrible. So then we get over there, and there's a boat
coming off. I'm getting away from wherever there's
this little boat. I mean, there's this little. I'm gonna say it. Little pirogue. There's a little pirogue there, and it's upside down, a little flat bottom boat, and you know, Alan, he's like tough guy. He's all tough guy because he's like, don't worry. It's nothing out here. So what? It's okay. And I'm like, oh my God, what's that? And he says, what do you want to bet there's some cottonmouths underneath that boat? And I was like, no, don't go. And he goes walking over there. I have him on film. He goes over there, he walks up, and he lifts this boat, and he's standing there. and I'm waiting for him to get bit by something. Now I was confronted by a cottonmouth at like 2 or 3 years old, so I'm terrified of them. So I'm waiting for something god awful to happen. He's got the boat, and he goes, "Nope, no snakes under here. There's a lot of fire ants." And I'm like, "Then get out of it. Don't just stand in the fire ants." So yeah, so that's that was right about the time where I started calling him the honey badger, because he was just not scared of anything. He didn't care. He was like,
No,
did not care.
I'm
He
not
went after
afraid of
anything.
much. It's just I get myself into situations I can't get out of, like crawling through barbed wire. I would have been hooked on it, ripped my pants, been upside down,
Yeah.
anything like that. So as a psychic medium, I send everybody else to go and do.
Well, that's what I've learned to
Because
do. Let
otherwise-
everybody else go do it, and I'll just hang back here because I already know what's down there. So
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
snakes
so
for
anyway,
me.
really and truthfully, you can't really debunk this, Alan. I mean, you can say you disagree
Well,
with it,
you know,
but you really can't. I've seen Alan debunk things to where I go, okay, fair enough. Okay, fair enough. You really can't
Well-
debunk this.
well, you can. It's psychologically easily debunked. Basically, you're looking at a case of faith healing. If you want to get into being seriously debunked, it is, as Kevin put it, a person in any form of depression is extremely susceptible to anything, of political manipulation, relationship manipulation. If you're in a depressed state of mind, you're not in a great place. We're going out and doing an investigation, so you're in an observational area, and then you get the reinforcement of everybody telling you something happened, and okay, look at it as a long weekend. Kevin, as you pointed out, you don't normally go running around cemeteries in the middle of the night.
Nope.
Just saying, jogging with the dead, not a big activity for you. So
Oh, Alan, Alan,
did
Alan,
you catch
Alan.
something? Yeah, you probably did. Did you feel bad? Yeah. Were you irritable, cranky, tired? Sure. And a lot of times, having somebody do something for you is more than enough to psychologically get you out of it.
So is that saying I'm fake, that I didn't do what I did? That I
Nope.
didn't experience what I did?
I totally believe you believe exactly what you did.
I
Okay,
know.
now, Alan,
Totally believes
There's
what
a
you
key
did.
word
I
in
can
that,
validate.
Renee. You have to listen,
Yeah, there's
because
a key
I,
word.
as an investigator, have to believe that when people call and they're a client and they say, "This is what happened," I have to believe that they believe that what happened to them happened
Sure,
to them.
Right.
Yes.
of
My
course.
job next is to go in and then I have to debunk those things. I have to pull forward and say, this is what's natural, this is what's natural, this is what's natural. We've been on investigations where we spent 4, 5, 6 hours and nothing happened.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it has to be substantial for me to pay attention to it.
Mhm.
Right.
I will watch the K2 meters go. I will say, yes, this is a response. Sure, right. There's nothing else around here that's been making it go. Fine, whatever. But I need something really hard, evidential that what's going on is going on for me, right? I need to hear the voice. I need to feel the scratch. I need to experience the knocks. I need to know all those things are there. Now, I, as an investigator, standing there, noticing something that 4 other people are noticing, and they're leaning into me because I guess I'm one of the tour leaders, since it's our group doing the tours, right?
Mhm.
That they're leaning to me for information. Do you see this? Do you see this? Do you see this?
Mhm.
And I haven't mentioned it to anybody else. These people are walking over from over here in these spots. And we're not being loud because over there is somebody telling stories. We don't want to interrupt them, right? So these people that are over here, they're not listening to what's happening here. They're just stepping in and looking, right? Tanya saw it. I saw it.
Yes.
I mean, is it mass hysteria at that point? It would have to be for everybody to see the same thing. The second part
and you
of that,
see that's validation right there, Alan. And the thing is, as he's describing it, I wasn't there to see what he experienced, but I've seen other things very similar to it. that have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've seen
as far
two
as
lights like that in my life.
well, when you talked about your friend who was watching as you slept, and you talked about the little lights flickering over you. See, I
I
didn't see that night, but I have seen that before. And where I saw it was in Sedona, Arizona. I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and the whole room was just filled with them. So, these are, this is energy. Well, you
yeah.
can call it spirit, you can call it's energy, and it's a higher vibrational energy because I'm over there on a vortex. So, that tells me these little sparkles that they saw, this was a higher vibrational energy coming in, and I have to believe that was Renee's energy coming in interceding with this, because the lower vibrational energy is not going to look like that.
After I told Renee what happened that night was when we learned that when people see Renee astral project, she appears as sparkles.
Well,
He
it's the
saw it.
vibration rate, yeah.
I didn't see it, but
and
she,
and we are, I mean, our spirits, our souls can do the same thing that one that's of deceased, not, one that's disembodied and everything else, because through my TVC project, we have proof through all of that, through through vocal communication and EVPs of my voice and different stuff like that. So I mean, it's very, very possible.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's validated. I really feel like it's validated.
and one other thing just to add into it, as an adult person who, you've experienced all of this, well, not all the sicknesses, thank God, but I've been through the cold, the flu, stomach flu, virus of one thing or the other, food poisoning, help me out, walking pneumonia. I've been through all of these things, right? I had to work a hotel job through walking pneumonia. Yay. This is different than any of that was. It is totally different. And I
It's
can't.
a totally different feeling.
It is. It's a horrible feeling. And there's only a few people I wish it on. But
take your COVID tired. Take your COVID tired and multiply it.
No, you don't want to take my COVID tired. My COVID tired would be
COVID a year ago.
I can't speak to that because I've never.
I had it a year ago.
Luckily, not had it.
I neither.
Yeah,
but it's
get the shots. Do not.
But I feel like, okay, this is just my professional opinion. To me, everything that both of them have said are things that I wasn't there when it happened, but I can relate to it because I've seen it or experienced or heard about it from other sources, and it fits in line. And I feel like it's totally validated. I really do. I think that it's completely validated, and it's not just something he imagined, and she went in and convinced him that it was okay. Because okay, Alan, he had a physical bruise on him. How?
Unless I was beating the heck out of myself in my sleep. Anyways, unless I was beating the heck out of myself in my sleep, it wouldn't have shown up there.
No, I think there's a lot of validation here. I mean, this is not just because I've seen situations where clearly it's the person's imagination and it's spawned by hysteria, fear, superstition, what have you. And I know both of these guys. I've known both of these guys for a very long time, and I think everything they're saying is completely validated. I mean, just the fact that he sees a light and 5 other people are seeing it. What's that?
I said, you poor thing, you had to spend 3 days with me last year.
Yeah, I know, in the snow. It was fun. We had a good time.
We did. We had a lot of fun.
We had a good time. Yes.
Kevin, how'd you like to have been their waiter for 3 days?
It was
right
fun.
Along.
We had a lot
of fun. We were in a little town where they built. We were in Seneca Falls where they actually filmed the movie "It's a Wonderful Life."
Yeah.
So
neat.
Okay,
well that would have been fun.
Place. It was fun. All right, so I think it's totally validatable. I think Alan, I think the skeptic lost in this particular instance. Just saying, but it doesn't matter. We had a great time.
So
yeah, okay. Well, we'll let you believe it.
Okay.
Well,
here's the big takeaway. Here's the big takeaway. Kevin did a very thorough job of investigating a situation and had a physical outcome. To which he turned to somebody who mentally he felt was going to be able to help. And this person very wisely either fed into the delusion or actually helped, whichever way you want to go with it, and did what she knew to do. And through the process, everybody came out fine.
Everybody came out fine.
And this is where I'm going to point out, don't do stupid things without some help. As Kalila, as you have been all four of us have been approached by somebody in the past after they have done something completely moronic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Every day.
You know, they walk in and go, Kalila, this is a thigh bone I found over at the Indian mound. And you look at them and go, what is wrong with you? Why? Why would you do this? And they'll give you that same 5-year-old answer. I don't know. And you're like, put it back. You know, why would you take a rock from a volcano in Hawaii when they've told you the legend on the front end that she will come get you?
And she will. And she
It doesn't matter if she is or isn't or doesn't. They already put that in your head. So now if you
will come
rock,
after you.
You know you're being a knothead. So you're just creating an issue waiting to happen.
Well, when everybody, a lot of people do that. But I think in this instance, this was a very frightening experience. And,
yes,
you know, I still can't. I mean, I guess it's one of these situations where it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
Yes.
You know, and I just hope that Renee is fully protected because, you know, I would hate to see something get attached to her because, you know.
It's going to take
it all breaks loose then.
I did.
Well, I think that something would probably want to, but I'm sure you know what to do to protect yourself. But we're just about out of time. So, guys, thank you so much for doing this. This has been a lot of fun, and I enjoyed hearing the story. And I knew about the story all this time, and I'd forgotten about it. So it was really great hearing it directly from you, Kevin and Renee, and kind of reliving this. And I thank you guys for coming on. It's really
you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Great to see you guys. All right, well, I guess it's time to wrap it up. Alan, thank you for your wisdom and brilliance. As always, it's welcomed. Yes, of course. Well, of course. What would we do without you? All right, well, guys, thank you for tuning in for this episode of Scary Stories with Kalila, and join us again next time for some more scary stories. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Night.